Hey everybody, welcome to Three Things Thursday. I am so happy today to be with Helen Amery, whose birthday it is today, which doesn't surprise me that she is doing a podcast on her birthday because I've rarely met someone with such energy and dedication and commitment to her work and to getting useful information and directions out into the world. I've loved everything that I've ever done with Helen. She's like sparkling energy and joy. And yeah, I'm just so glad, Helen, that you're here. Really glad. And I've invited Helen particularly to talk about a new direction that she's moving into, which I'm really fascinated to hear more about. So I'll hand straight over to you, lovely, and tell us about yourself a little bit, and then we can go straight into Mace.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Claire. Yeah. Do you know it's kind of incredible. It's about a year since I made this transition for myself. It's just I'll say more about that in a second. But yes, it's like it's already done. It's already this is already so much my thing. So yes, as you know, I was in your world back in like 2020, 21. And then I went into some other work to really much more in the awakening side, really wanting to know this, well, who is this me that I really am? What these people are always talking about it in such a wonderful way, but I want to actually know that thing. So that was what led to me moving into energy transmissions and then ultimately writing the complete book of awakening with Sarah Priestley.
Yeah.
Um, and then on the back of that, I had this recognition of how, oh, well, yes, I know this truth of my essential nature now, but God, there's still all this human patterns of stuff that's going on.
Hmm.
That meant I moved into much more of the enlightenment space, what I call the enlightenment space, trying to clean up some of that human reactivity, the human patterns that just I knew weren't really in alignment with the truth of who we are. As you know, last year we did the Enlightenment event, so that was a massive smorgasbord of enlightenment tools,
Mm.
modalities, approaches to lighten thoughts, lighten feelings, lighten our experience with the body. And really, all of that was so useful because what I see it as is like all of that was kind of taking off layers of, okay, I'm not triggered by that thought anymore. I'm not triggered by that feeling anymore. So these layers were lifting. But what it left me with was this recognition of like, oh, but there's something else there. It's like there are still patterns playing out in my world that I don't like, that I do want to change, and nothing is getting to whatever that thing is that's causing this repeating pattern. And so it was the beginning of last year when I first heard the phrase negative identity. This coach said to me, there's a negative identity playing out. That's why you can't break through. That's why you can't make this shift. And I was like, oh my God, she's right. Like that phrase just resonated instantly. It's like, yes, that's exactly the thing that's the problem. But in fact, her work at that point, I was like, I cannot afford to invest in her way of clearing these negative identities. So we parted company, and I was therefore on the lookout going, right, how can I solve these negative identities in a different way? And then the Mace Energy Method landed in my world. And literally, it's like my world changed on that day. It was the instant I'd heard negative identities, it was a yes. The instant I heard the Mace Method, the Mace Energy Method, and went on the website, it was like, yes, this is it. So I was straight in booking my first sessions, booked to do my practitioner training before I'd even had my first sessions because I was so definite
Mhm.
this was the thing for me. So yeah, 6 months of training, got signed off last September. And so I've now had 6 months of being a practitioner, worked with about 70 clients now, because it is such a fast process.
Right.
Lots of people have been coming for their foundation sessions, and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal and brings everything together that I've ever done before. So yes, it's
Fantastic.
wonderful.
Amazing, Helen. Amazing. And before you go into your three things, can I ask you what was that? So what was it that before you'd even done your first session that you'd signed up for? What was the thing that hooked you in so much that?
I could put words to it, but it's there was a deep knowing it was the right thing to do.
Hmm.
And actually, I hear that a lot from the clients who come to me. They'll say, I kind of don't know why I'm here, but I'm just really drawn to it. Or they'll say, this is really unlike me. I usually do a lot of research, but I just felt I had to show up for this.
Right. Okay.
Um, so I think there's something very deep in us that knows
Yeah.
that this is the thing. So I could say all sorts of stuff about, well, it said it was effective, it said it was direct and got to the exact problem. Some of the things I'll be talking about in my three things. It's not talk therapy. I'll talk about all those a bit more, but really there was just a deep knowing that this, otherwise, why on earth would I sign up for my practitioner training before I'd even experienced it for myself? Like I've always been one that to say, I go first, I see if it works, then I share it.
Yeah.
To book to be a practitioner even before I'd experienced it, it's like, well, that's not what I normally do. I normally have to know it's valid and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
got efficacy
Awesome.
before I share it outwards. So yeah, there's a deep knowing. I think people get drawn to it fundamentally. Yeah.
Brilliant. So cool. Right, my lovely. Let's so tell us the three things that we all need to know.
Yeah, yeah. This was really hard to narrow it to three.
Yeah.
Please feel free to keep me to time if I'm
Okay,
saying too much.
lovely.
I've written them down to try and keep myself on track. So the first one I've said is it's not a talk therapy. So so we don't tell stories, we don't talk about our experiences of the past, we don't make any meaning, we just do not talk about, oh well, this happened to me and therefore this and that and the other. Um, there's no analyzing, there's no figuring out, there's no even just even understanding. You know how, so I know in my world before, I would be like, oh, well, this is happening and that's happening because I believe this. And therefore, because I believe that, then this thought comes and then this feeling comes and then that thought comes. And so I had a blooming amazing like map of how my experience would unfold and why I'd end up in the situations I was in. But that wasn't changing anything. So and that's really why I loved Mace, because it was like, we don't need to talk about any of that stuff. We don't need to do any of that figuring out of these domino effect patterns. No, we just pull the root of the thing out.
Hmm.
Um, we just get rid of the source of the problem, and then all the dominoes collapse because that's what they're
That's what's
built
holding
on.
it in place. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Um, the second thing I love is that it's fast and direct. So it's in its simplest form, and when it's followed in its simplest form, it's a very, very fast process to the point where clients will just go, "Is that it? Is it gone? Is that it just gone like that? That quickly?" Like, yes, just like that. So it can be so fast for some people. Um, for everybody, it's faster than any therapy I've ever known. You know, it would be standard before that, like, well, this is going to take at least 6 months, maybe a year, maybe the rest of your life. Whereas this, no, we absolutely have a process which works. It gets to the exact thing that you want to deal with and it gets it out of your system quickly. Um, and really that directness was huge for me because, you know, before I was giving energy transmissions as one of my things I was doing. And it was great. I loved it for the time I was doing it. It was amazing to teach me um, yeah, how much we are held and guided by something much more intelligent. But I could never absolutely guarantee to a client that the thing they were coming with would be solved by the transmission they got. Um, Whereas with this, it's like, yeah, you bring me your thing, I guarantee we'll solve that thing. And I love that. It's just so suits my natural way of like that directness, that clarity, that,
Hmm.
yeah, I want to solve your exact thing. That's like, what a delight. It's an absolute delight. These things that have been bothering people for so long. So, yes, fast and direct. Um, and the third thing is that when we clear these negative identities out of our system, what remains, of course, is the real us. So we're never adding anything back in because it's like when we've cleared all that crap out the way, all that's left to fill that space is the truth of who we are, the natural expression of who we are, the aligned expression of who we are. So our natural preferences, our natural ways of being, our natural people we want to be with and don't want to be with, all of that can then just unfold just naturally because it's like it can't wait to
Mm.
come through and be expressed. And it's only this negativity that's keeping it at bay and preventing it coming out in that flow. And so then everybody goes on a very unique individual journey of that natural expression coming out into the world and continuing to learn and continuing to grow. You know, I'm still working with coaches who challenge my thinking and who help me do what I want to do next. But my ability to receive their questions, their feedback without contracting or resisting or reacting is phenomenal compared to before.
Right.
Because it's just like, oh, brand new information, amazing. Let me take that in, let me assimilate that, process that. Oh, right, now I want to do this. And it's like, it really puts you in that natural state of how we're naturally designed. You know, like you always talked about little kids, didn't you? That incredible learning potential of who we are. It's like all of that is just, it's still there. It's just being clogged up by all this stuff that we've
Yeah.
unknowingly created along the way. So it just, in my experience, the more Mace sessions I've had, the more all of this is just amplified, and just get more and more and more of the real you, and which feels better and better and better. So yes,
Brilliant.
love
So
it.
brilliant. Well, you're being so concise. Can I just ask you some questions? What
Mm.
does it stand for?
So the Mace Energy Method originated by a guy called John Mace.
Oh, I see. I
So
see.
yeah. So nothing to do with pepper spray. Yeah, the guy was called John Mace, and somebody at some point along the way said, "Oh, you should give it a name. Why don't you call it after yourself?" And so they came up with the Mace. I think it was originally the Mace Method, and then they put energy in.
Right.
People still play it either way because sometimes energy freaks some people out. There's nothing freaky about it. There's nothing woo-woo about it. It's a very practical process.
Can you
Anybody,
tell us the process?
no.
No.
Primarily because there's no point. I literally just had a session with somebody actually. When you book your foundation sessions, you have a 2 hour session, which is like a deep dive sweep of a whole bunch of big identities in your life. And then we have a follow-up session for an hour a week later. And I just had my second session with a client, and she said it's just nuts. Like people have been asking me what it's like, and I said I can't even describe it, and I can tell there's no point me trying to describe it. You know, like when you first come across coaching, and it's like you can't describe to a person what being asked questions and being listened to feels like the impact of that when you spent most of your life not being listened to and not being asked questions. And I always remember when I first started as a coach, giving people experiences of being coached because it's like you literally can't convey it in language.
Mm,
So this is really like that. All people need to know is that there's something they don't like and they want it to change. And then in the session, we give you everything you need. We give you context, hence why people can come without doing any research. We give you all the explanation. We do some little practice stuff. And we as practitioners, we guide you through the whole thing step by step by step. Um, and all the information you need is always right here.
right.
There's nothing you need to go searching for. It's like it's
Yes.
right here and now, raw data of thoughts, feelings, and images, and that's it.
Right.
So yeah, it's
Oh, Helen, it's so fascinating. And yeah, it's so like it's amazing how you're talking about it. So how if someone's interested in working with you, what should they do?
yeah, I can share the link if you want. So the
Oh
foundation
yeah.
sessions is where everybody starts. If somebody wants a discovery call first to understand more, then I'm happy to do that. So I can share that link too. But many people just get straight in, book their foundation sessions. Then they get the confirmation, book 2 hour session, book the 1 hour session a week later, and we're off. As I say, the only requirement is there's something you don't like and you want it to change, and the rest of it we do in the
Okay.
session.
Can it be online or is it face
Oh,
to
it's all
face?
online. Yeah,
All
yeah, yeah.
online.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Totally
Yeah.
online. Yeah. I'm kind of curious what it'd be like to do a face-to-face one actually, but yeah, all online.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, darling. Well, thank you. It's really fascinating. Thank you so much for coming on our Three Things Thursday and sharing it like be a whole new area for a lot of people. So it's brilliant.
Mm.
Thank you, lovely.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so
having me
much.
on. What a treat.
All right, and enjoy the
Take
rest of
care.
your birthday.
Thank you.
Bye,
Take care.
lovely.
That's a love.
Bye.
Bye.